It's not about having an inquiry with 4 secretaries or joint secretaries, because there is definite collusion and corruption at some level. I mean, I've spoken on, Beeb, I've spoken on Al Jazeera. Everybody's laughing.
Flights are cancelled all the time abroad.
Flights are cancelled abroad. You get an instant response. You will have to come, and they have to regulate this and say above 50%. It should not be. Couples getting married on a video call.
Yeah, I saw that.
What the government should have done, in my view, you've got 100 routes that you're not flying or you cannot fly. I'm taking them away and I'm giving them to Akasa, or I'm giving them to Air India Express, or I'm giving them to Spice. So the airline is not really running home to the bank. It's the government that is actually taking. This bucket has 10 seats, it will be at 10,000. The next bucket will be at 12,000. The last bucket of 3 seats may be at 55,000. उसके सामने आजकल तो business class डाले गए या some. Those days Air India had a lounge, a luxury Maharaja lounge. First wave of private airlines came in as air taxis, but they were allowed to function on a timetable as an air taxi.
I have also spoken to pilots. I know how worked they are, right? If you could perhaps suggest some reforms and how we can, make it better. So, Sanjay, we're in the middle of this very intense meltdown in our aviation sector. हमारे यहाँ पे IndiGo की बाट लग चुकी है, and so many cancelled flights. The moment this happened, my first thought was, I don't even know how the aviation industry in India works. किसी airline को license कैसे मिलता है? How do they operate? How do flight timing? How does an airline decide flight timings? कब कौन सी flight उड़ेगी? All of that, right? Before we start peeling the issue, and you've been on many other channels talking about this, I just want to understand, how have we arrived at this place where flights get cancelled?
Okay, thanks for having me on your show, and lovely to be here in my hometown of Mumbai, which I love so dearly and also detest the traffic. But let's come to, the actual problem that on hand. We in India are currently facing mayhem. This is the crisis that the likes of which we've never seen before. I've been in aviation for 40 years. I've never seen anything like this. It's been chaotic, and it's been, like a tornado has hit this industry. Now, why did it happen and how did it happen? Very many people believe that it's, because IndiGo could not match the new rules, which were too difficult for rest. But that's not it. You see, I'll also touch upon what you mentioned about how does an airline start and stuff. Aviation began in India in 1919 and then 1932. Of course, Tata Airlines, JRD Tata is the doyen of our industry, started, and then it became Air India. And it was taken over by the government in 1953, away from the Tatas. And many small other airlines got nationalized under the Air Corporations Act in 1953. So we got 2 carriers, Air India, Indian Airlines. Now, the Air Corporations Act was such an act of parliament that did not allow anybody else to own a plane or fly a plane. Only the government of India. So all the private planes, that private owners had to surrender their planes. That went all honky-dory until 1994. In 1994, the government decided we will repeal the Air Corporations Act and make these 2 airlines into companies. So they moved from corporations, which is like Life Insurance Corporation, and they moved into what is known as a company under the Companies Act, which is a law for companies. And both Air India Limited and Indian Airlines Limited came to be. That was in 1994. Around that same time, if you remember, just before that, the economy had been deregulated by Mr. Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao and whoever. They also deregulated aviation. In order to deregulate aviation, we had to repeal the Air Corporations Act, right? Which did not allow anybody else to come. So the first wave of private airlines came in as air taxis. And you had, Jet Airways, you had East West, you had Damania.
When you say air taxis, what do you mean?
They were not airlines, but they were allowed to function on a timetable as an air taxi. So they were not typically airline as you see them today. That evolution took another 10 years. The law allowed air taxis to start with. So private air taxis came into being. So, Tamania owned one. You had Naresh Goyal who owned Jet Airways. You had Mr. Wahid who lived down the road from here who had one. So he was East-West Travel. So a number of them came up in the first wave. Modi Luft came up. That's Modi and Lufthansa had tied up. And they operated that well. And then slowly some of them started dying off. There was some questionable investments by people, shady guys got in, and whatever. Be that as it may, the first wave died out. By then, they became airlines. All the rules were changed. Air India, Indian Airlines had become companies, and people started starting up airlines. In this first wave, we saw 6 or 7 airlines disappear, and only Jet Airways really outlasted them. Sahara got, swallowed up by Jet again. Kingfisher came into being. Kingfisher grew as an airline, and eventually Deccan also came up as the first low-cost carrier. Modi Luft had died, and Modi Luft came up and then had a new Janam. Then SpiceJet came into the picture. And of course, IndiGo was born 19, 20 years ago. So that is the evolution. In the meantime, what happened? You now had a plethora of airlines that were challenging the monopoly of Air India and Indian Airlines. Air India on the international side, Indian Airlines on the domestic side. They started losing money, and the government decided, let's merge them. So in 2007, they merged these two carriers, Air India and Indian Airlines, and created NASL, which then became Air India Limited later, and of course got sold. And in the meantime, you saw one by one NEPC shut down, Kingfisher shut down, Sahara shut down, Damania shut. We had about 15 airlines that shut down in this second wave of aviation deregulation. Then you came to, the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, where they tried to sell Air India. Jet Airways, of course, died in 2019 by the burden of its own sins. And IndiGo, by the time, had already started growing. And you had SpiceJet, which had grown and collapsed and grown. Ajay Singh had taken it over from the Marans and for literally 2 rupees and grown it into this big carrier. And then they've had their ups and downs. IndiGo kept growing at this huge pace, and only the combined strength of Air India, Indian Airlines could even not match up, but at least come a little close. And we got to the stage where in 2019 and 20, in 19, government tried to sell Air India. They couldn't. Then COVID broke. 2020, they had meetings to try. I was part of that committee with the ministry had set up. I used to attend those meetings. And then they finally sold Air India. They went through the process in 21 and 22 January. The government sold Air India to the Tatas, who were the original owners, and it was like a ghar wapasi for them. IndiGo in this meantime had, paid huge gambles on buying bulk aircrafts and then trading them. And they had redefined the game. They had redefined the game in the sense they were, having sale and leasebacks. They were buying and selling. They were doing a whole lot of stuff and putting bulk orders in place. So they'd become this really massive jolly green giant or jolly blue giant of Indian aviation.
Sorry, what about Go Air and Akasa at the same time?
They came in much later. See, Go Air was already there. Sorry, Go Air was there during this time, but Go Air was a small player. Wasn't a very big player. It grew later. Akasa is very recent, 4 or 5 years old. So it's come into the scene. It's there. It's still growing at a snail's pace. Now it's picked up. But IndiGo is the story is about IndiGo's growth and they grew to, first Air India's size, then bigger than Air India. And today they are, more than twice the size of Air India. They control 63 to 64% of the market share. Air India has about 20-25%. So they together about 90-91%, these two companies. And that's where we are today. And how this has impacted us over the last 1 week is, when a giant like IndiGo sneezes, all of India catches a cold. That's what is the bottom line. Now, to take you to the reasons why they fell apart, or they fell to bits, really, is in 2019, the organization of pilots called the FIP, the Federation of Indian Pilots, went to court saying they needed a flight and duty time limitation, which was scientifically based. And this matter was in the Delhi High Court for some years. 23, they had some hearings. In January of 2024, I believe Mr. Scindia was then the minister, Jyotiraditya Scindia. They decided to formulate new FDTL car, FDTL means flight and duty time limitation. CAR is civil aviation requirement. So they did that, and it was, aligning India with the global network.
You mean pilots abroad tend to work lesser hours?
Pilots abroad tend to get more rest. They work lesser hours. They work more days, but they get, lesser land. See, remember, most airlines and airports across the world, especially in the Western world, in the UK, Europe, you have night curfew. So a lot of them don't work nights. In the UK, airports are shut. In fact, you get fined if you have to land after 11 o'clock.
Wait, so that's why my flight at Heathrow always lands in the morning.
Yeah, of course. You go to New York first, JFK, etc.
That's an exceptional airport in this, right? Where you can land
But
at night.
you'll find that across America as well, you don't see very many midnight, 3 in the morning departures and stuff. You get a couple of red eyes, which are cheaper. But by and large, it's far more expensive and more difficult for an airline to schedule its crew at the middle of the night. So they don't do it.
Human rights, employee rights are quite high, pays are high. So
most part of Europe, you will find, you go to Paris, you'll not find it dead at night.
For years, I thought that the reason we take red eyes from India is so that we can start our day early.
No. It's because that's the cheapest time and the only time we can get in. If I took it's such an ungodly hour we leave at 2 baje savere, 3 baje savere, and you reach that 10, 11, 9, you think just chaukas tu. No, it's not that. It's because that damn airport is closed till 7 in the morning. From 11 at night, Heathrow doesn't open, Gatwick doesn't open. They don't allow you to land. You get penalized. Why? Because they have a consideration for the people who live around the airport. The Hillingdon, Hounslow, Heathrow, Hayes, all the people, Hatton Cross, the people who live in those have petitioned the government and said this will remain closed. Similarly, in Paris, you'll find in a lot of cities across Europe, they want work-life balance. They value human life. So, you find airports shut. So, to come to your point again, we don't want to digress in this.
But this is important.
Yes, yeah. To come to the point is, the world over, the conditions of flight and duty time limitations are far more relaxed than India had. But because India is an ICAO signatory and,
what signatory?
ICAO is International Civil Aviation Organization. It's like a UN body that controls all airlines, aviation, countries. Countries are signatories. IATA is the International Air Transport Association, which has all the airlines as members. So there are two big bodies that are international and they oversee everything. One is the commercial aspect, one is regulatory and treaties of the sky and stuff like that. So ICAO has norms. All the regulatory bodies in the West, whether it's FAA in the US, CAA in the UK, EASA in Europe, all have regulations and all of them were far more relaxed than what India had. So India was pushing whether it's pilots or cabin crew or whatever, with unscientific regulations. And I say unscientific, not tested by medical science. And this became an issue. Finally, in January 2024, we got a new CAR. Now, let me clarify that this is not the first CAR. There have been a number of earlier, I call it CAR, it's CAR, and they've been from IAC of 1992, Aeronautical Information Circular, AIC. They've been going on all the way. Now, when in this CAR, there were a number of significant steps taken to ameliorate fatigue in a pilot and also to give them little additional rest in a week. So that came into being and the government did not implement. It was going to be implemented and then ministry changed, the minister moved on and it got, I'd say, paused. So the pilots were already in the court. They went to the court and said, you implement this. So the DGCA came to court and said, I'll have to talk to the airlines if we can implement this or not. So they said, listen, you are the guys who,
I'll do it for you. Yeah.
You are the guys who came out with this. So how can you say you can't? Be that as it may, they spoke to the airlines. The airlines told the DGCA, give us 1 year. Because this new regulation requires us to recruit more pilots.
Got it.
तो बढ़ जाएगा. और ये pilots are not like, auto rickshaw drivers. You can pick them off the road. You've got to groom them, train them, build them up. And that's why from March 2024, they got till March 2025. In March 2025, when they had not done it, pilots filed a contempt petition, and then they came up to the High Court, and the DGCA came to court and said, listen, airlines had asked for 1 year. They've not been able to complete their recruitment. So the court said, listen, nothing doing. We're in March, April. I'll give you till July. Till July, we will move into phase 1. So out of all the clauses, we will implement a majority of them. And the remaining 15 clauses, so phase 1 was to start in July, phase 2 in November 1st, 2025. And that's how it happened. Now, what happened during this period? All the airlines were like, busy mice collecting food for the winter.
Rapidly expanding.
Rapidly recruiting. Expansion to hote rehta. Depends on aircraft coming in, not coming in. But they were still taking in pilots at any cost. What IndiGo did, they may have taken in some pilots prior to that, but in June, July this year, earlier, they ceased or they paused recruitments. Their student program also, student cadet program also slowed down. So that was really funny. Then I learned, reliably informed that in September, on the 19th of September this year, they let go of some 30, 40 first officers, senior first officers.
Didn't one of their co-founders also sell most of his stake?
Yes. Now that is another story. I don't know if it's linked to this, and I would not ordinarily link it. I think they had operational disagreements, Mr. Gangwal and Mr. Bhatia. And I think as a compromise, they decided that, he would sell his stake and bring it down to 0 or 1 or 2 or 3% in the next 5 years. And he's been doing it over some years, and he sold, most of his stake. I think he's left with a very small percentage, if at all. And yes, he did. Huge stake. But IndiGo continued growing, and they've continued ordering. And today they've got almost 1,000 plus aircrafts on order. Okay. Now, here's where it gets interesting. So in September, they also let go of some first officers. Command training. You train in an airline. You have a first officer and you have a commander. You have a cadet pilot or a student pilot. So after some hours, the first officer is ready to go for his command. It's not some hours, it's considerable amount of hours. They paused or slowed down that command training. So when the winter schedule was coming up in October, now every airline has 2 schedules in a year, a summer schedule and a winter schedule. The summer schedule starts around the 28th of March and it goes on till about the 27th of October. The winter schedule starts on the 28th of October and goes on till 27th of March.
What these schedules comprise of?
I'll tell you. To organize itself in air travel, airlines divide their programs, their flight schedules, their rosters into winter schedule, summer schedule. They have number of flights, and because some flights are seasonal, some are not. Time changes in various parts of the world. You have daylight saving time. You don't have. So timetables are issued for the schedule. And this is filed in India. It's filed with the DGCA. So you've got to mandatorily file your schedule in advance and get it approved by the DGCA that I will be flying so many flights in this schedule on these routes. These are the timings and these are the crew I have to operate.
And that's set in stone. It's not moved.
It's set in stone and the DGCA has to approve it. He approves it. After verifying everything, he meaning his office. His office is a huge office. If you've been to Delhi, it's a massive complex.
But it's basically done in accordance with the schedules of others so that there's not too much traffic on one route.
No. It's you now routes. Now we have a number of routes. Okay. Let's talk about domestic. I won't speak about international. Now domestically, you have slots. So you can't wake up tomorrow if you have your own aircraft. Say, I'm taking the 9 o'clock to Bombay, from Mumbai to Delhi. No, you can't decide that. Because there are routes, there are slots, And if you don't have the 9 o'clock slot, you will have to find the next one available. There is a slot committee that appoints and gives you a particular slot. So every airline then pitches in advance, okay, I'm going to do a 9 o'clock flight. And for example, you try a 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, Mumbai to Delhi. You'll see 10 airlines, but they're actually not 9 o'clock. One is 8:55, one is 8:57, one is 9 o'clock. They're all different. But they've all been allocated those time slots.
Got it. Within 5 minutes, 6 minutes of each other.
Yeah. Maybe some 3 minutes, some 2 minutes, because we have, takeoff sometimes, literally 2 a minute. One is taxiing, one is waiting just to take off just after you. So it's one of the busiest domestic routes internationally. So this is how slots are given. So everybody files a particular time and a timetable, and it's cleared by the DGCA. And then they say, okay, my schedule is approved, I'll start operating. Now, also another thing that airlines do, and I've been part of an operational system which did this, is you do a full dry run of your schedule 3 to 4 weeks before it starts on your scheduling software. And you put all your staff on board that, your pilots, your cabin crew, put all your flights, all your aircraft, and then you simulate, okay, fog aaya idhar, Delhi mein fog aaya, Chennai mein barish gira, the flight got delayed. So you know the stability of your roster, of your schedule, and you know if you can operate it or not. Because the system will tell you, this is the system. I mean, today we know AI is there, computer is there. So the system tells you that, okay, this is a schedule that's possible. We can maintain schedule integrity, timetable, OTP, everything. Now, here's where the question comes up. In summer, now remember, summer is 7 months, March to October. No, the summer schedule. I'm not talking about seasons. Summer schedule is 28 March to October 28th. So that's 7 months. Winter is 5 months. October 28th to March 27th, right? This summer, IndiGo operated 14,114 flights, right? And filed a winter schedule requirement for 15,014 flights. That's an increase of 900 flights, mind you. So they were going to do 900 flights more in 5 months than what they did in 7 months prior, in this previous, with less pilots, with a tougher car. The CAR was coming in on the 1st of November during winter. Okay, so add on all these dominoes. And then you had the fact of, IndiGo had already seen 1,000 cancellations in November, which we got to know later. And the third fact is, winter is often a time where the DGs requires you to have more buffer staff, crew, pilots, because fog. So once fog season hits, you are in hell. Because, you're from Delhi,
Yeah, and you have flown aircraft in and out of Delhi airport, right?
Yeah, hundreds and thousands of millions of times. So it's crazy over there because flights get diverted and fog sets in at 4, 5 in the morning, sometimes doesn't leave till 2. So what happens to all those flights? There are flights every 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Where are they going? They go to Jaipur, Ahmedabad. They're getting Hyderabad. They're getting, diverted and they stay. So you need extra crew because those crews' duty time also expires. So it's a very, very synchronized clock. And unfortunately, because of not having the numbers, IndiGo broke that clock. Because they entered the stadium with 4 batsmen and they thought they could have 11 batsmen and score 500 runs. They did. Because they were playing with less players. They had less pilots. So trouble hit them. And now the minister today on the floor of the House in Parliament has made a statement, and I read it. It was, in fact, I was live on a TV channel where I was listening to him speaking. He admits from the 1st of this November, IndiGo was in touch with them saying we don't have the pilots to operate. We've lost 1,000 flights. If that was the case, alarm bells should have been ringing. This shows other people are complicit in this. This was not an isolated incident that happened by mistake. There is deliberate, I won't use the word criminality. There is deliberate malfeasance. Collusion, corruption. I can call it a lot of things, boss. Okay, I will. As we go forward, I want to tell you. My point here is very clear. One, the airline knew they were short deliberately. They came with the game, boss, ki ye match to walkover milne wala hai. We are going to get this regulation changed. So let's go ahead.
I have a question before we move on further. Whenever I see a friend have a bad experience with a flight, which is generally one of the two things, या तो उनको डिले करा देते हैं या रीरूट करा देते हैं. आपको लैंड होना था चंडीगढ़, आप लैंड कर रहे हो दिल्ली. One of the two things. They write a long ass tweet. Sometimes that tweet gets a lot of responses. The flight is forced to either DM you on your Twitter or take action, whatnot. I feel like I, as a citizen, have done my job. In India, people do that, right? Like they are unsatisfied with the flight service. They miss an important note. And इस केस के अंदर तो लोगों ने मतलब बहुत चीजें valuable miss कर दी. Like micro damage to the GDP. One could even say that, right?
Not micro. Sorry. I'll tell you, it's thousands and thousands of crores. This has taken away a big bit of our GDP. This 1 week of loss of productivity may even have gone to 0.5% or 1%. Micro to nahi hai. Aadha taka to gaya. You know, somebody will have to sit and quantify this, finance ministry or something. The loss of productivity, the loss of production, the loss of people traveling. Big hit. Sorry, I interrupted your question.
No, not at all. That's an important part.
No, because this is something I say, who is going to compensate India for this? अच्छा चलो चड्डी उतर गई पब्लिक में दुनिया में. I mean, I've spoken on, Beeb, I've spoken on Al Jazeera. Everybody is laughing. They're saying this, we are a banana republic here. And it boils my blood to hear.
No, but tell me something. Flights are cancelled all the time abroad.
Yeah, but not, you don't go into a tailspin like this. Flights are cancelled abroad. You get an instant response. The FAA will jump in. The Department of Transportation will jump in the US. Everybody will run. Everybody was blind, deaf and dumb for the first 3 days. Sab changa tha. They went for a meeting, sab backslapping everything. Okay, we will give them benefit of rollback. Nahi, that's not how it should have been done.
That's the reason I raised the point about tweeting about your flight being cancelled or delayed and getting a response. Now, you said the flights, 900 flights were already cancelled in November and 1,000 flights were cancelled in November and no one even tweeted. We were unaware. हो सकता है इंडिया की मीडिया साइकिल में कोई और नई चीज चल रही हो, हमारा ध्यान misdirected हो.
नहीं. Can I just explain?
Yes.
IndiGo flies an average of 22 to 2,700 flights a day. Okay. Right? They have maybe 200 destinations, 150 destinations around the country, assuming. 1,000 flights in 30 days comes to about 3.5 flights,
per day.
About 30 odd, here and there, 30 odd flights a day. In 100 destinations is a darya mein khaskas.
आप कहीं से भी cancel कर सकते हो.
You won't even know, unless somebody rang the alarm bell. Yeah. Okay.
Because as a passenger, you're only concerned about your flight being cancelled.
30 flights a day anywhere. Even in so many, you could cancel on one day. One in Delhi, one in Mumbai, one in Chandigarh, one in Haryana, all over the place. Bangalore, Chennai. You wouldn't know. One flight. Idhar-udhar passenger, idhar-udhar kar diye, khatam ho gaya. But the point is, the ministry knew. The regulator knew. Minister himself has said, we knew. If you knew, why didn't alarm bells ring off first? If you thought it was minor, did you, and you approved their schedule? Mind you, this is a very important fact. The schedule is sent in the middle of October, early October, to the ministry and DGC.
Yeah.
They approved the increase thing. You're also supposed to verify if he's got the crew to operate that schedule. If you haven't, you failed your duty. Okay. I know, when I was flying in those days, I was a public sector carrier. Of course, I opted out of flying once, it got privatized. I spent a couple of years and then opted out. But I've seen the checks and balances built into the Babu system of Indian governments. And you had the checks and balances. So what does it mean? There was collusion at some level, allegedly, in the government, in the ministry or the DGCA. It's very important. It's very important to find out where. And we are now seeing where. We've now found out, it's on my Twitter, it's on the guys who signed off on the thing. Is one is the Chief Flight Operations Inspectorate and one is your joint DG. Tell me who's going to hold them answerable. It's not about having an inquiry with 4 secretaries or joint secretaries. This has to be at a higher level. This should be with the CVC or the CBI, or because there is definite collusion and corruption at some level. ऐसा नहीं होता है. You can't have somebody saying, okay, I need to have 10 policemen on the beat, and the guy says, "Arey chodo na, I'll put one, and you don't do that. It's here you're saying I'll have 100 pilots, and I don't have 100 pilots, I have 50. You can't rug down those 50. Yeah. We've seen over the last 2 years, the amount of young pilots passing away, fatigue, stress. I mean, it's all over all the newspapers. There's huge amount of pressure on pilots, and we have to understand it's one of the most risky, dangerous, and skilled jobs going in the world market. He's carrying 200, 300 lives. He's flying a 777, 350 people on that aircraft. If he does a jhabki or so much as a mistake, it can be disastrous for all of them. So we've got to understand that we're not giving him, a holiday in Ibiza. We're actually telling him, thoda, you rest a little more so that you can take me from A to B safely. And here was a company that, of course, in my view, had been, operational gold standard. Of course, they cut corners. They are ruthless. They're, brutal in operations. We'll discuss that later. But here was a company that went into the winter schedule with 900 flights extra and probably 900 pilots less, which some media today say they promised to recruit 900 pilots in 1 year. I don't believe that number. I think it's closer to, they're short by about 130 odd commanders.
What about the other airlines?
Good question. Tell me which one of them has objected or all of them have had no problems. Why? They've all recruited. I mean, you mentioned Akasa. A company like Akasa has been recruiting pilots for 1 year because they value human life. They value work-life balance. And in fact, their pilots were getting frustrated or not getting flights. But so Akasa has been recruiting. Air India is always recruiting. Air India Express, the two sisters. They're recruiting all the time. Even now, if you open their website, they've got recruitment ads. Pilots walk in. Because they're growing, they're all going to get an aircraft. Air India, one aircraft every 6, 7, 10 days in the next year. So is IndiGo. Now, if you're growing at such a rapid pace, you do know India is the fastest growing aviation market in the world. India is also the third largest aviation market on earth. In that sense, we've got 2,000 almost aircraft on order by these three carriers.
Wasn't IndiGo given the permission to fly certain international flights on behalf of the Gulf?
They were given...
And Russia?
No.
No?
No. They are flying in the 777s with joint with Turkey. They've taken leased aircraft from Turkey, Turkish Hawaii.
I could be wrong. I had read somewhere that certain Indian low-cost carriers would be helping countries in the Middle East and perhaps even Russia in operating their own domestic routes because they were incapable of doing it and they wanted to mimic that in their countries. Is that not true?
I'm not nothing like that has happened so far, so I'm not aware of that. But IndiGo has been operationally a very sound airline from the exterior. The interior has been deteriorating year on year. When I say the interior, I'm now getting to know because you see what happens is when you get an illness, the doctor checks you for everything.
Yeah, and then you find out.
And then you find out, God, I've got cancer. I've got 3 blocked arteries. I've got you went in for a liver problem and now you found you've got 6 other, incurable diseases. That's what's happened. The moment, the shit has hit the fan in IndiGo, now all these letters are coming out. I'm getting messages, calls. I'm in, groups with some of their guys. Because of course, let me be clear. If they are on any social media network, they get sacked. If they speak out in WhatsApp, if they speak out on their own bulletin board, they get punished.
Yeah. Didn't you publish a tweet from all of IndiGo's ground staff and employees, which was like an open letter without anyone giving particular names, right?
I did because it came to me from a group of IndiGo employees and I verified it. It's not unverified. And I've got another one. I didn't put it out because lots of others had put it out. I thought, kar diya hai, so it's already viral.
But Sanjay, tell me something. I have seen angry passengers, right? And I'm very, very well behaved at airports. But I've found that oftentimes the ire of the passenger is misdirected, but the company has put in one representative who almost always is undertrained and overstressed and has to deal with the anger projected at them. I always wonder what's the programming or what's the culture that's permeated down to them. Like, what does upper management say to the employee? Hey, in case a dispute happens, this is how you behave. Is there a protocol, or are they thrown to the dogs?
Some airlines have a protocol. They train the frontline staff how to deal with these things. Some airlines may probably not do that. But, good you ask me this. You go to a restaurant. You get a crap dish. Whom do you shout at first?
The waiter.
You don't call the chef or the manager. If somebody has asked you to cut... Now here, in this instance, we've had people who've gone to airports for a 9 o'clock flight and they say, sorry, sir, a 10 o'clock flight is cancelled. But sir, you can go on the 12 o'clock flight, it's going. So he buys a 12 o'clock ticket because it's more expensive now. And he buys the 12 o'clock ticket. At 12:30, he says, sorry, this is also cancelled, sir. So he has to cancel that ticket and refund it and get 40% back.
Yeah.
This has happened on 2nd, 3rd and 4th. And that is why passengers who lost out on IndiGo are filing a public interest litigation in court. Because they've been cheated. Because IndiGo is only giving refunds 5th, 6th and 7th. 2nd se 4th, koi de hi nahi raha hai. There are people who paid 40,000 here to come Bangalore, Bombay. Usko kaun compensate karega?
If I have a non-transferable, non-refundable ticket,
you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you have to buy another one. And then, ye jal gaya. Now you're going on the next one, which is also not going. They know, but they're telling you buy it. I'm hoping it will go. But it didn't go.
No, but if I go to the airline ticketing office, I've missed some flights. So I go to the ticketing office, right? Which is right. अगर हम दिल्ली में जाते हैं तो it's the first one.
हाँ बाहर.
Right.
Gate 1 के पास.
हाँ gate 1 के पास है या कई बार अंदर भी होता है. आप जाते हो बोलते हो मेरी फ्लाइट मिस हो गई मेरे को अगली वाली कर दो, right? Like आपकी ये वाली टिकट है सर आपके हिसाब से इतने पैसे लग जाएंगे. मैंने कहा ठीक है 3,000 रुपए लग रहा है. I really need to be in Delhi or like Mumbai, whatever. Do it. ठीक है. Sir, if you take it from the airport, it's more expensive. Better to buy it from the app. They're sometimes nicer. They explain that. All of that is done, right? I've also had instances where if I miss the flight, the next flight is suddenly 24,000 rupees expensive. Yeah. And then I'm screwed. Then I go back home and wait for the next day, right? Yeah. Now, in this case, when I talk to the staff, right, and I say, "Meko next flight do," generally they're able to do something on their terminals behind where they're sitting, right, and fix it right there and then, right? How is it that they're asking the passengers to rebook it on their own?
Because remember that generally when you go, you don't have a tsunami of flight cancellations all across India. This time there was a tsunami. So they were telling everybody, go and book another flight. Because they could not do any jugglery. Na? Normally what happens is they adjust. Chalo, ek seat hai. Passenger ne miss kiya. Let's try and see if we can show him. He was overbooked. They always overbook. So we've not given him this flight, we've given him the next available flight. Wo hota hai. They can do that. But when 100 flights are cancelled in one city and you've got 1,000 passengers standing in front of you, how do you do it? Book the next flight. That's all they can say. They've not been told from above that next flight also is not going. Because that aircraft is also waiting at the tarmac and that pilot, I don't know where he is. That's the sum and substance of this entire IndiGo thing. And coming back to the internal issues. In November, alarm bells should have started ringing. The DGCA and the Ministry of Aviation should have told them, oh, hang on, Charlie. Your 15,000, 14 flights, I'm rolling back to 10,000.
So why do you say Charlie again and again?
It's in English.
Oh, right. It's just a thing. I thought it's like you use Alpha Foxtrot, that kind of thing. That's why.
No. So, okay, hang on. XYZ.
Mr.
Indigo.
Yeah, got it.
Hang on, Mr. Indigo.
Got it.
And, so they could have told them, roll back your schedule. They didn't. They went with the flow. IndiGo must have assured them, don't worry, we'll get our chickens in a row by next month. And next month, baad aa gayi. Sab beh gaye. Everything got flowed, burnt away. And that's where the problem has occurred. And now what will happen? Because of all this, there's going to be an inquiry, an investigation. I am demanding on all social media channels and I'm going to write a letter to the minister and have a forensic audit of your ministry as well as of the airline. Okay.
You're looking for fingerprints?
No. Forensic audit is a scientific term where you investigate their entire software, their balance sheets, their records. So you'll know that they were not in a position to operate when they even filed that 15,000 schedule.
What
Okay,
was
number.
the pressure?
The pressure. They were so sure ये टलने वाला है. It was match fixing, boss. We knew that going in last ball, we come to the super over, we are going to win the over. Boss, out of syllabus came something else. Cabin crew, 100 cabin crew went for interviews with Emirates and Etihad, something. Pilots decided that we are going to follow this car and we're going to continue. And whole lot of stuff happened. Some technical glitches happened in Delhi and Pune. Yes, I accept. Pune had some problem with an Amadeus software or whatever. So aircrafts got stuck. So one thing led to the other. Small thing. One screw came loose. The full airship fell down. That's what happened. And
Go on.
no, and then you saw it came to a point, and I'll tell you, my own family came from Bangalore. And they waited 8 hours at the airport in Bangalore. They finally boarded the plane to Pune. They took off. They circled around Pune for an hour. They ran out of fuel. Why did they could not land? There were 9 IndiGo aircraft parked and there were other airlines parked on the tarmac. There was no place in the airport anymore. Air Force, it's an Air Force airport. If you've been to Pune airport. They had to divert to Mumbai. They diverted to Mumbai, spent 4 hours more on the aircraft here. Finally, they found out half that aircraft was from an earlier Bangalore-Mumbai flight which got cancelled. They adjusted them here. So they terminated that flight here. Look at the irony. And they told the rest of the passengers, find your way back. So we had to arrange a taxi and, take the family back to Pune on the highway. And no atapata. And this happened on the 2nd or 3rd. Okay. So I'm just trying to give you. There were people, now Chennai to Pune.
Yeah.
I know because the passenger called me. I was on a radio show. I was on a TV show. And after that, passenger heard me and called. And he said, sir, I left 5 o'clock. I reached Pune in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 10 o'clock. I'm still on the aircraft. They have not deplaned me. 5 ghanta, they were on Pune. Now, if all the aircraft, this is going to happen, can you imagine the chaos it's caused? Other airports also this was happening. They had to close some airports because of this. 5 hours, passengers landed in the destination. But you've not taken him out because there's nobody. I mean, this guy's duty hours are over, this pilot. He has been sitting there, poor chap. There are other pilots who have come to Pune to take a flight back, but their duty hours are getting over in the aircraft. They're also passengers. Till the aircraft at the bay gets out, you can't get in. So you're sitting there waiting for your turn to come. It was chaos. I mean, that's only Pune. I can tell you in Mumbai, there were, must have been 1 lakh people waiting in all the, departure hall, departure lounge, everything.
Well, hasn't the government started several train services to combat this?
They have. And trains also already have prior bookings. You do extra, Rajdhani ko le lo, ये वंदे
तो यही चलता रहता है कि wait list में हूँ मैं.
Wait list, RAC ले लो, ये करो. But that's one part. What the government should have done, in my view, is take back, of course, this chaos had to settle down. So they gave IndiGo the dispensation and said, we'll waive these 2-3 clauses till February 10th. Get your house in order. ठीक है, I don't agree with it, but ठीक है, do it to bring normalcy. But I would have stopped and said, listen, you've got 100 routes that you're not flying or you cannot fly. I'm taking them away and I'm giving them to Akasa. Or I'm giving them to Air India Express. Or I'm giving them to SpiceJet. Bring their... You see, it's going to come to a stage where, like in the US, your government is going to have to say, you cannot be such a big monopolistic carrier. You will have to come and they have to regulate this and say above 50%. It should not be. Because one person can't change the entire economy of a nation.
Yeah.
I've written a detailed, article in one of the magazines there. I don't know.
You had an interview with Entrepreneur recently.
I did. I had with the Wall Street Journal also. I wrote a detailed, 3,000 word article in the Quint, where I narrated the entire blow by blow, kya hua, how it happened. And, the fact of the matter is that when you, and this will be examined by the, CCI, the Competition Commission here in India, I think somebody should write a complaint. If nobody does, I will. This has to be examined that how can somebody have such a pervasive and pervasive influence over the entire aviation ecosystem? Boss, I'm telling you what found out in the last 2-3 and I've been involved with airlines donkey's years, 40 years. My family has spent 85 years in this business. Okay, I've had father, mother, everybody from this industry. So it's in my blood. You can cut and you'll see little airplane,
You'll
literally.
see,
Yeah.
क्या बोलते हैं? What's the gasoline भरते हैं ना इसमें पे?
नहीं,
हाँ.
ATM. No. So I love aviation. I love flying, and I love aircrafts. I love everything about it. I love passengers as well. The important factor here is, there is some jhol. And just by trying to pacify a few people, in the government, in parliament, in outside, nahi banne wala hai is baar to nahi banne. Because you have seen, I have seen couples on whilst I was on TV, I was getting married on a video call.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Airport mein baithe, bhencho, what do you, have you...
It's the couple who were in Bhubaneswar, stuck in Bhubaneswar, yeah.
Can you imagine? And people are going to their shadi somewhere else. I've had friends, I had a friend, my classmate, head of a big investment broking firm in Mumbai, Ahmedabad, 53 of them. 53, they bought tickets on IndiGo for the whole route. They were coming Ahmedabad, Pune. Arey boss, they cancelled. They said, no, we take the next flight. They did the same thing. They bought it. In the end, bride and groom struggled to reach Pune. Boss, they had to come. Some went to Mumbai, some went to some other place, on some other airline, traveled, some went by bus. They finally reached 3 hours late for the shadi. But they reached. But imagine, and the guy was fuming at me. I said, boss. So I can imagine when a passenger goes to the airport and gets angry at the staff. I do imagine. It's uncalled for. It's sad, but it happens. So this guy is shouting at me, look at this. I have got nothing to do with it. I'm, in aviation. He called me at 1 in the morning. He said, boss, you have to help me. I said, well, how can I help you? Please tell me. I said, I can send my car or I can ask somebody in Ahmedabad to send. You can drive now. But he said, शादी मिस हो जाएगी. I said, क्या शादी boss? दूल्हा तो तेरे पास है. कौन शादी? His niece and they were getting married. So I said, anyway, but I'm just giving you simple thing. There were people who were standing with their asti, in Bangalore airport. I saw that. Sad. Going to, do Visarjan. And because of this nonsense, who's going to answer all these people? The worst thing is this country has a zero citizens charter. We have a citizens charter that is like toilet paper you can wipe your ass with.
Say more about that.
I'll take you through, sorry.
You want more coffee?
Little lighter. So you go to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Now this free-for-all jungle existed in Europe, existed in UK.
Mm-hmm.
Airlines didn't give two shits about passengers for many years. And then the EC came out. EC, it was called the European Commission in those days. And they came out with the Citizens Charter for travel. And that regulation has become law across all European nations, where it's fixed in stone that if a flight is delayed by so much, you will get so much this meal. If it's delayed by so much, you will get this much compensation. If the flight is of so many thousand kilometers, you get this much. And sometimes they go as high as 400, 500 euros. Euros. So you're talking a substantial compensation automatically. And even the process of appeal is there. No airline can say, no, I'll put you in the aircraft, sir. I'll send you to, some small dhaba here. You stay there the night, come back. No, sir, not happening. It's very clear. Same thing is in the UK.
No, I had it done to me in SF. Well, I was trying to fly from Boston to SF and my flight got cancelled. They gave me I was trying to fly from Boston to New York and something got cancelled. I had to go back home to my dorm in Boston. But they gave me enough of a voucher that I would get a free flight to SF.
And that's what they do. In the US, they'll actually pay you to get off a flight.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
say you're looking for volunteers.
Volunteer, $500, $400, ये तो बार-बार होता है. I sometimes wait. कभी मुझे उतारो, I'll take $400, go to my cousin's house, stay the night and come back. Because at least I've come out some money while I'm there.
Right.
But so there are citizen protection guidelines everywhere. We have something so flimsy. It's a crap in the park. Literally dog poop lying there. It's really very sad. And I hope that, our Prime Minister and our government looks at this very strongly, or maybe the courts do, because this is the time and this is the place that we have to bring it in. That no, I mean, I'm from the aviation industry. I've spent all my life here, my working life, my adult life. Actually, I joined at, just shy of 18. So I know what it has been. But I still believe the industry exists because the passenger exists. The customer is king. And if he doesn't get what he needs to get, or he doesn't get compensated for what he has put in, it's a shame. Then we shouldn't be operating this industry. It's all very well, some airline says, मैं दान देता हूँ, चलो मैं ये देता हूँ, वो देता हूँ. Oh, that's not it. ये मेरा हक है. I am paying tickets in your airline. I'm flying your aircraft. I want it set in stone.
You're a service provider and I'm a customer.
Absolutely. If I die in an aircraft, for example, in insurance or general insurance, I bang in a car, everybody knows I've got an insurance policy. I'll get so many lakhs of rupees or so many thousands of. It should be very clear. If I'm buying a ticket on I'm paying the airport UDF, I'm paying all sorts of PSF, I'm paying the government shitload of money, man. Okay, you combine all the airports and see. There has to be something more for me. I must get some guarantees and it has to be set in stone. India needs to move up. We are talking of flight and duty time limitations to match global standards. Yeah, of course, great. Let's also give the customer his due. Okay. India is an expensive place to do business, especially for aviation. But you've come here and you're doing well. Maybe not all airlines are doing well. That's their own fault. I'll come to operation mechanics later.
Sure.
But let's understand, not all are doing well. But this is the basic. If you've taken a passenger and taken his money in advance, he's booked your ticket 3 months, 6 months in advance, sometimes 3 days in advance. He's your customer. If you can't take him from point A to point B in the way you promised, you owe him compensation. You have to pay him. You have to compensate him or give him a free ticket or give him it has to be written in stone. I feel that we've reached that stage, and these last week has convinced me. I've been talking about it for 2 years. But this is the time now we need to walk the talk. And I'm going to, connect with like-minded individuals and set up an organization. We have to stand up for the little guy. Because the little guy can't go on 10 podcasts and 10 TV channels like I can and make a noise.
Well, I think it's a much more fundamental problem. In this country, we don't value each other's time.
We don't value each other's life. Yeah.
Okay, and we think that the poor man is expendable, right? The poor man is expendable. The economy class passenger is expendable, right? Anyone who dares to fly my plane, I'm doing him a massive favor, right? That he gets to be here. And उसके बाद आप अगर आवाज उठाते हो तो you're an unruly passenger. बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं. But let me ask you this then. I'm going to speak about the founder, Rahul Bhatia, right? Because one thing that conveniently gets hidden when we talk about failure of this regard is if something similar happened to say a food company, everyone would look at the founder, right? And they would be in crisis PR management mode, right? Which is what IndiGo is doing right now, because I saw one Sonu Sood video where Sonu Sood is saying, but IndiGo is not that bad, blah, 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 all of that. Is the founder not directly responsible?
Absolutely. In this case, because it's a corporate, it's not a startup anymore. It's a company listed by shares on the stock market. The founder is the managing director here. He's become the managing director of the board. Of course, he's a brilliant businessman and, finger in many pies. Great entrepreneur. No two ways about it. He's got a board. Who is on that board? Look at that board. I mean, see the names. There are some, famous Indian names who are part of that board. Now, in under the Companies Act, the board.
I'm just going to look up who's on the board.
Please, you'll see. I want you to say it rather than me say it.
Okay.
I know the name, so
Yeah.
So look at them.
Okay.
G20 Sherpa, Mr. Amitabh Kant. He's former secretary in the government of India.
Yeah.
Very close. I mean, he's just held the G20.
So it says Rahul Bhatia, Vikram Singh Mehta, which is a non-executive chairman, former Shell India chairman, Anil Parashar, whole-time director and CFO, Pallavi Shardul Shroff, corporate
big famous lawyer. Yeah, very famous.
Amitabh Kant is also on the board. That's crazy.
You've got
former
a chief
SEBI chairman,
yes.
M. Damodaran, Birender Singh Dhanwa, former chief of air staff.
Yes, so
Greg Albert Saritsky, ex-CEO of WestJet Aviation, Michael Gordon Whittaker, former FFA. ये तो कुछ top के लोग हैं.
Boss, these are people that, That's the gold standard. That is the gold standard of board members.
Uh-huh.
And they are from all walks of life, you can see. Some have held very senior positions in Indian, echelon, whether it's government, defense, whatever. And the board is responsible. Okay. More than we call him a founder in name because he's just a managing director.
Right.
When it's a company, they have a corporate identity. So it's no longer identified by the person who started it. It's now gone beyond that. We've moved beyond the pale, and in law, there is something called a corporate veil. So in the case of IndiGo, you can't lift the corporate veil to say, oh, Mr. Bhatia is the owner and let's get after him. No, it doesn't work that way in big business. And what we need to understand is the board is responsible. And now I'll tell you, I've learned that the board has been meeting literally every day, sometimes 2-3 times a day. They formed a committee.
Yeah, they found
Mr. Kant and
recovery, refunds, regulatory proofs, all of that. Yeah.
But if this board was this board now, there's somebody on Twitter, Ajay Roti, very very popular account. I follow him. He follows me.
Yeah.
Very nice guy.
Ajay Roti.
R-O-T-T.
Yeah, found him. Yeah.
Now, if you see he's analyzed the last 3 investor calls of IndiGo.
Okay.
And they've addressed this issue of pilots.
Yeah.
In the investor call, it's in his tweets. If you look at it, you can pull it up later. He's analyzed that, the board thought nothing is happening. They were told that, chalo, ye chota mota kaam hai. In April, in July, and now in September.
Yeah.
Or November.
Let me just look it up.
Please. Just look at Ajay's.
Pull up Ajay Roti, investor calls.
IndiGo kar do, you'll see.
For IndiGo.
Yeah.
I'm asking the Twitter AI itself, so it just takes slightly longer.
Nahi, koi nahi.
Okay. So it says it's a widely shared thread.
Yeah, he was talking to me. You'll see his communication with me where he is.
Yeah. So it says that the revised FDTL norms have been implemented smoothly with minimal disruption, low single-digit capacity, no material impact. It's just very complicated language. Okay.
No. What it means is the operational team of IndiGo told its board that there's going to be no impact.
Yeah, that's
6
what
months.
it says. Yeah.
6 mahina pehle hai. Look at the date of the investor call.
Yeah, it's Q3. They're talking about November 4,
go to
May
Q,
2025.
Go to May 2025.
Q1 FY26 earnings call transcript. Yeah.
Now look at that. Look at the call transcript. So obviously, that's when they stopped the recruitment of pilots. And they're saying, koi gal nahi. We are going to manage. Okay. So either this is overconfidence or jugaad betha hai, main kuch karne wala hu. Now you go to the last call, which is I think a month ago.
Yes, November 4, 2025.
Ab dekho, udhar kya bol raha hai. Again there, when they've got 1,000 flights being cancelled, please see what they say.
Yeah, it says that the norms have been implemented smoothly with minimal disruption.
Kya bol raha hai? He's saying this before the tsunami has come to his doorstep and he's saying norms are implemented.
Yeah, this is Q2 FY26 earnings call. Yeah. This is November 4th, 2025.
Please explain to me, how can he do this?
That's crazy.
They've told the board this. Now, whom do you hold responsible? The CEO, the COO, the operations head?
It's both the CEO and CFO who've said this together.
Yes. So, someone is to be responsible. So, you've misled your board? Have you misled your board? Or is your board so stupid? I don't think they're stupid.
Yeah.
Because you in one sentence, the Minister of Civil Aviation has told Parliament today, and the DGCA has said on last week, we've had meetings, these guys have had problems from the 1st of November. He goes and tells his board, we have no problem, minimal impact.
That's crazy.
6 months prior, he says, I will have no impact. What does that mean to you?
Either he's supremely confident, he's no longer a rational actor, or he's in collusion. One of the other things.
That's
right?
it.
Or all above the above.
All of the above. That's the thing. And, he's a good leader. Frankly, he's been a good leader in the past. So I don't know what brain fog got over him, brain fade. Or, whether he was just in one of those psychedelic moods. He had something, he's from Amsterdam. So that's pretty famous place. But he's a good guy. He's a good leader. And I think as the leader of the ship, he has to take the blame.
Sanjay, let me zoom out a bit and ask you something about the industry to understand this a little better. Because I feel like since you're here and I have this time with you, see, when you think about the airline business, when I was a young kid in the early 2000s, I would see all these huge airlines, larger than life, Kingfisher, Jet Airways, Sahara. It was a privilege to fly. And Kingfisher economy class was so decked out that was like, my God, it felt like you were in the eighth wonder of the world. This was how special it was for me at that point, right? And I remember flying in first class once on the Emirates flight from Delhi to Dubai, and I will never forget it. It was a red ticket with a red label,
Band.
and it was, all the whistles and whatever. Then, as time went on, I started to hear that the airline business is a bad business where there are no money, where there is no money, and everyone seems to have constant losses. But they were not just one airline company with losses. There were several. Vistara had so much promise, and then people were very sad that purple brand became Air India again, right? With such a loss-making business, how does someone like an IndiGo or a good successful airline even make money? How do they make their money?
So you're right. Airline business is a very heavy cash burn business. It's a very heavy capital intensive business and very difficult to make money in. Okay. Be that as it may, it's not that airlines don't make money. There are airlines across the world.
Ryanair,
Look at him. They're the crap standard, but I travel Ryanair every year, twice a year. When I go to Ireland and parts of which only Ryanair really goes.
yeah,
I can't afford British Airways or Aer Lingus because Ryanair is like 30 pounds and those guys are 200 pounds. I say, screw you, I'm going.
Wait, Ryanair is even considering putting in those plastic Nilkamar seats, right? Or standing seats. They're smart.
Yeah, well,
They're smart.
for all you know, they might start giving bags to piss and shit in. Also,
मतलब देखो वो अपनी flights
नहीं,
को
he's smart.
है ना?
Hmm.
I'm assuming, do they pay their pilots very well? Do they give them rest?
They give them rest, of course. See, they follow the European norms again. So night is khali. I'm not doing anything. It's all daytime flying. And they're paid decently. I've met some of the crew. They played very decently. They're not underpaid. Okay. But they do everything. Their guys, their pilot won't, and IndiGo also did that for a long time. Their pilots won't be ashamed, come out, clean some seat pockets, do some stuff. Ryanair does all that stuff. You see in a station where there's nobody and they're stuck, their aircraft, the guy will go down to the baggage hold. They do everything. In India, we have that, I'm this, I'm that, I won't do this. Dignity of labor is not so much of a thing. But we come back to the point. There are some very, very successful airlines, Southwest, Ryanair, you mentioned, IndiGo is one of them. Delta, American, United, they're doing well. They're all making money. It's not that they're not making money. You grow to scale, you operate at a particular level with lower operational costs. Gestation period to reach that takes some time. IndiGo has mastered that. Okay. IndiGo invented new methods to save money. IndiGo invented new methods to reduce cost. And, IndiGo was the first to do a lot of the steps that it did in this country.
Right.
So I recognize them for that. And I admire them for that, actually. I may not have done it. And in my prime, I was a, violent, union leader. and I would have taken them on at every level and every step. But I look at it as shrewd business and good business. But where it crosses the line is when these shortcuts start to endanger safety, when they start to affect operations, when they start to border on causing disruption like this has, right? And the most important thing is IndiGo is today's Jet Airways. What you saw in Jet Airways, I'm too big to fail. I'm too successful to fail. Look at where their founder is. He's begging the court and police for permission to, travel India for his cancer treatment, etc. So he's been arrested. He's had a lot of legal. But I'm not saying that this is going to happen to IndiGo. I'm saying they have gone too big for their boots, maybe. And it appears that way. Because nobody cocks a snook at a regulation that is a national regulation put in place by the DGCA and with a seal of approval of a High Court. Very important. This was all done through the Delhi High Court. So if you're told that you have to have 300 pilots or 150 pilots, you jolly well have them or you don't fly. Na? Why are we mollycoddling them? Because he has 63%. So the first thing you have to target is the 63% now. That is what the government of India must do. And this is where I see, now you come back to profitability. Not all airlines in India are making money. Tatas have bought Air India.
Why are they doing it then? As someone who's been in aviation for 40 years, why do they do it?
Because there is hope that you will, if you run your ship tightly and properly, you will make money at some point. You will. But it's also, understand there's a lot of revenue generated in the business. There's a lot of employment created. And for example,
It's an essential service. You can't
it is
not have airlines in a country.
Well, imagine if we didn't have an airline like IndiGo in India. Okay. And you went back to the days, your fares would go through the roof.
I haven't flown with IndiGo for a year, by the way. For
Right.
some reason, when Vistara was jumping ship and heading to Air India, I went with Vistara to Air India, and good decision, because I'll tell you what, this podcast wouldn't have happened. I have just landed in Mumbai 2 days ago,
Okay.
in the middle of all of this, and
On Air India.
or Air India, and usually what I do is I book my flight 1 or 2 days in advance, but I just decided I'm about to turn 29. Let's do some long-term thinking for life now. So one of the first steps that I did was to book 3 multi-city flights, Delhi, Bombay, Delhi, Bombay, Delhi, Bombay, way earlier, all the
Wow.
way early in November. That's why I was able to get on. And I attempted to upgrade to premium economy. Same stuff happened. I went to the boarding gates, the flight
Check-in count.
check-in counter 6 minutes before it closed. They had a little bit of a problem. That's how I boarded the flight. That's how I got here. Otherwise, I had an employee of mine lives in Kolkata. I wanted him to come in earlier. I said, just check. He said, there are no flights from Kolkata to Mumbai right now. I was like, how is that possible? And I checked. There was a flight that was too late for 11 p.m. And that flight was 43,000 rupees. That was Akasa.
That's now, because of the situation that cancellation of flights created, you had what's termed in aviation as price gouging. So you had, of course, there is airfares, earlier days used to be restricted by the DGC. There was a price monitor. Now it's been free flow. So it's an algorithm. So when somebody is looking very hard at Kolkata, Mumbai, that fare keeps going up and up and up. When the demand is higher, it keeps going up. There are also buckets of seats in an aircraft. This bucket has 10 seats, it will be at 10,000. The next bucket will be at 12,000. The next bucket will be at 15,000. The last bucket of 3 seats may be at 55,000. And that's how this dynamic pricing works. So when IndiGo drops out and there's a huge significant number of seats taken away, 63% of the market taken away, you're left with 37%, right? That 37% uses dynamic pricing and boom, it shoots up because demand is now 3 times what it was earlier, because the 63% also have come to the 37%.
So they make more money, or they make money in tantamount to the demand?
No, they make money in tantamount to the demand. They make more money, yes, but because people are buying, people who are desperate will buy. People like you said, okay, I'll go home and stay and come back the next day. They won't make money there. But when you could say that, it's airlines taking advantage of this, but remember, there are days that an airline goes empty, and I have seen, for example,
I've been on those airplanes.
Air India. I've seen an Air India flight going Calcutta to San Francisco, 75 passengers.
Yeah,
There's 100 tons of fuel on board.
a semi-communist state doesn't go to the hub of capitalism.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, of course. So that's what we need. We have moved into a capitalist market. We still have socialist leanings across our country. Our constitution says that we are there. But so we've got to decide if we want to operate the middle ground or we want to go one end to the other. And unfortunately, of course, fortunately, by the 4th day, they brought in price caps. Okay. I think
but they're not being implemented from what I know.
Now, that's another thing. If they're not being implemented, there should have been a passenger charter to penalize these guys. There's nothing. Is there any mechanism to penalize them? No. You'll write some parchi to DGCA. You'll write some letter to the minister. क्या करेगा वो? कुछ करेगा? कर नहीं पाएगा. बहुत रात गई, बात गई. Passenger is booked and traveled. I know they're not following the price cap. There's got to be some body or organization taking this up. There's nobody. There's a gap in the market. Okay, there's a gap in the market to represent these passengers. There's a gap in the government to deal with this. What will one DGCA office do? They are investigators, they are licensors, they are regulators, They are training this thing. They issue licenses. They do everything. They do training monitoring. They do operation books. They do pen to piano in aviation. It needs to be restructured. In my view, you need to have, more independent organizations that look at these things. You also need to have some kind of transparent mechanism where a passenger gets justice, passenger gets relief in these kind of situations. Coming back to profitability, I want to talk about, since you mentioned Air India and things, remember the Tatas took over Air India with a great burden of accumulated losses, which the government
It was
took
a dead
away.
airline.
Yeah,
right?
well, it was an
Dying.
airline losing money. It was an airline with a lot of debt. Government ate up some of the debt. The Tatas bought some of the debt. And they've been growing that airline. They've invested crores and crores, thousands of crores. And they've grown that. Okay. They've had a very terrible mishap this year. And 171 Ahmedabad. And, it's tragic. It'll take them some time to get back on their feet. They're moving in that direction. And it'll take some time for IndiGo to win back the trust as well. And I hope they do. But I want structural reform in place for passengers and for the market and for regulations. You can't, operate in an environment and say, boss, I'm going down the one way. One way lane hai, but the Pandu is waiting there. That Pandu will cut out a challan. Mumbai mein you do it. He's waiting there for you. You can't do this and no challan be cut. And that is where my grouse is. Now, of course, they will have punishment, penalty, minister has said. But it's too late, too late. The horse is already bolted. You had a chance to stop it on 1st November. You had a chance to stop it on 4th November. You had a chance to stop it on 30th November. It exploded on 2nd December. And that's the thing.
In your so many years working in the aviation industry, I'm sure I have also spoken to pilots. I know how overworked they are, right? I've even spoken to pilots and I'm like, bro, you're having a drink right now. You have a flight in the morning. Like, yeah, whatever. It's the stress that gets to them, right? If you could perhaps suggest some reforms and how we can, make it better. Like I have one to offer to start with, which is like, please make certain legs, if they're very frequently used, please make them cheaper. It doesn't make any sense to pay for a 20K flight for Mumbai to Delhi when it's such a widely used route, right? That is someone's salary, but you have to book 3-4 months in advance.
So first thing, and this I must say because I want to clear, no pilot who's flying in the morning drinks at night. Huh? We keep a 24-hour gap, 36-hour gap. Oh, jo kar raha hai na, he's Sikandar. Because he'll be arrested and thrown in jail. They do a breathalyzer every flight. So that's, pilots don't do that. They're responsible. And I think looking at the health scares and stress and the hard yards that they're flying, everybody's become more careful about their fitness. Everybody's become more careful about their health and maintaining, clean lifestyle. Alcohol to chodo. Some of them, go on these fasts and diet, a whole lot of stuff. And remember, they have Air Force medicals. Every year, twice a year, they prescribe to Air Force norms. So it's not that, you'll see lazy, slothy, unfit guys. Now coming to the point about air travel between, say, Mumbai and Delhi, for example. Heavy duty sector, lots of frequencies, lots of high price tickets. Even with those high price tickets, the airline is not making money. Let's understand that. You have so many taxes in India. Why is it so difficult in India? The government is taxing the airline to death. The government is taxing you to death. Please understand. Now, if you analyze an airfare, and I don't have my laptop here, I would have happily...
I can pull it up.
No, I'll just show you. I'll just tell you approximately 30 to 40% of that goes in tax, whether it's PSF, airport tax, UDF, your GST on your fuel, everything. So the airline really is playing with 30 to 40% of this, fare that it actually had originally. There's insurance, there's, staff costs, there's leasing. Remember also, the dollar is now crossed 90.
Yeah.
And all of these, IndiGo especially, has been hit because they were leasing aircrafts in dollars. And that's which hit them. You see, in the last quarter, they've lost a bit of money. Not lost a bit, they lost quite a bit. And then they realized that they'd rather buy the aircraft in Indian rupee denominated thing and work that way. 1 second, sorry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
No, I've been getting. Everybody is trying.
Get in touch.
No, every channel wants. So come on, this 6 o'clock, come
Yeah.
on 7 o'clock. Chodo mo.
Can I? I just have the
Yeah, take
stat.
it.
I have the stat. So the base fare is 62% of the total ticket. If the base fare is 3,600, the airline fuel surcharge is included in the base fare since 2023.
Which you pay to the government.
Yeah.
Okay.
UDF is 450 to 650 rupees, which is 8 to 11%. Aviation security fee is 175, which is 3%. Passenger service fee abolished, now merged into UDF since 2022. GST 5% of base fare, which is 180, which is 3.1%. CUTE RNFC 20 to 50 rupees, less than 1%. Total taxes plus statutory fee 825 to 1,005 rupees, which is a lot, 14 to 18%.
So you total all this, the airline gets 60 odd % here. That includes the government surcharge.
Yeah,
fuel surcharge.
government surcharge, UDF.
No, UDF are on top, which shown separately. But the basic fee includes the tax.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's another 8-10%, I think. Right?
Right.
So you're actually getting half the fare. So the airline is not really running home to the bank. It's the government that is actually taking. The government is taking half out of everything that the airline makes.
No, but it also says that effective government and airport take is only 14 to 18%, which is much lower than the 35 to 40% myth that circulates.
No, 1 second. Pure government take, but some is going to the airport.
Right.
I'm saying third party. Let's not call it government.
Government plus third party.
Now, for example, Adani owns the airport in Mumbai. He's taking that. But who owns the airport with him?
The government? Yeah.
Not government, but Airport Authority of India. Who owns Airport Authority of India? The President of India. So, effectively, mota-moti, 50%, 55% to udhar ja raha hai. It's going. Airline is not taking. That's what I mean. So, the airline in India is struggling. They're very high taxes. So, the government has to look at lowering those taxes. You compare this to the UK. You compare it to UK. See Europe or see the US. You will find taxes are far lower. And in India, I also want to point this out. Every state has a different ATF on fuel. Different GST on, somebody has GST on this %, somebody has another tax on the ATF. So every state has a different rate.
So UK actually sort of complicated. They have India's leaner structure subsidizes growth in a price-sensitive market. But UK's APD balances revenue with green policy, while US's 26% funds inflate short-haul fares. Complicated language.
26%. It's half of us.
But India 16%, you're right. Hides a 28% quasi-tax from UDF hikes. It says US passengers pay more upfront but get better infrastructure ROI. That's what it says.
Of course they do. And even at US airports. Now, for example, I was speaking of UK. Now, UK airport taxes are 20 times that of Mumbai. So if you flew from Heathrow to Bombay, it's crazy the tax. I don't know if you've flown. You check it out, it's 16-17 grand.
Okay. Look, Stansted or Gatwick
Stansted mein, you cross over and go to Ireland, go to Dublin, you'll pay $3,000. You come to Paris, you'll pay 9,000. You fly from Heathrow, you'll pay 17,000. So these are, and Heathrow has it slab-wise, distance-wise. Whereas Mumbai charges you $1,500, 2,000. It's honky-dory to fly international. We don't charge by distance. We don't charge that. So, sum and substances, yes, it's difficult to make money, but it's a business that, you've seen both. There are two listed companies. One not doing so great, one is doing great, and that's had this misfortune. And, I still think it's a very exciting business, and it's going to grow bigger than anything that we've seen in India. It's going to grow to twice the size it's currently at.
Do we have enough? It's going to sound like a simplistic question, but do we have enough storage, enough capacity to manage this expansion?
Do we have enough of passengers? First question. We have plenty of passengers.
बहुत लोग उड़ना चाहते हैं.
सब लोग उड़ना चाहते हैं. And प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है, he's got उड़ान, उड़े देश की सब नागरिक. He wants the people in Chappal to be flying. He wants to democratize flying. At some point, he's going to have to step in and say, let's either loop some taxes off or they're already, Udan is subsidized. Okay. The government gives a subsidy to airlines who operate those sectors on the sectors that they operate, right? The specific Northeast sectors, certain low frequency, low yield sectors, the government does. But we have plenty of passengers who want to fly all around the year in all the sectors. So there's a market. Do we have all the airports? No, the government is building airports with private sector and on its own. They want to take the number up to 300 by 2030, 2032, which will be huge. When you consider 14 years ago, prior to this government, we barely had 60 odd airports in the country. We are at 150, 175 today, almost pushing 200. So it's huge jump, quantum leap. Lot of investment is going into airports. Private companies are doing it. The Adanis are doing it. GMR, GVK was now Adani's taken over. You've got Brookfield in Bangalore. Lots of private companies are taking over and investing in airports. So it's a sunrise industry, aviation. Aircrafts. You look at, we've got, already both these big carriers have ordered almost 2,000 aircrafts. Air India, IndiGo, Akasa is ordering. Everybody's ordering aircraft. Aircraft production has slowed down with the Boeing problem, but it's still going to. Now, is there capacity? Can the government manage? One question. Can the airlines manage? Second question. If we see evidence of the last week, the answer to both has to be no.
Yeah.
Okay, because we've seen how, one flurry caused, like a snowball. So we need to tighten, and this is a period of learning, a time of learning. Government has to have stronger safeguards. We have to decouple the Director General of Civil Aviation's office from any ministry. It has to be an independent police authority. It has to be regulating and policing aviation very strongly. You go to the US and you see the FAA does that. The NTSB, which is the accident investigation, they do that separately. They're really very strong. You do not see governmental interference in most countries unless it's dire conditions, war or acts of God. But here, unfortunately, we see, and if I am to believe the rumors, a lot of what went on in the IndiGo and DGCA issue and was dictated from above, from the people in Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan. And Rajiv Gandhi Bhavan is the home of the Ministry of Civil Aviation, in case you didn't know that. So it was not the decision of the people over there. There were also some people at the lower levels in that office who were, Mile Jule Sarkar. They were doing that. So that happens in our country. And this is what, nobody wants to bell the cat, because this is a cash cow. It's a cash cow. Let me just be very clear.
Okay. Any kind of licensing and
anything, permission, license, NOC, aap bolo. There's, and it's not thousands. Not like Turner Road signal where the guy is saying, 50 rupees, 100 rupees de do. This is big time. And I'm saying this pretty openly on your broadcast. I want people to realize that, of course, we have this inbuilt thing in our, we love to corrupt the incorruptible. And it's a flaw in us. I cannot stand up and say that I've never offered, somebody a bribe at a signal because I broke a signal. I have. I cannot say I've done it. And I cannot say that I went out of my way to find somebody to corrupt. No, I didn't do that. But if somebody said, Saab ye de do, ho jayega, I've done it. Yes, we all do it. We want, it's called speed money. It's part of our system. In this, and mind you, why I'm pointing this out here is because this is a regulation of safety, of rest. And this is where we've got to be really careful. We can't be pushing a fake narrative. Or changa hai can't work. Chalta hai can't work.
Yeah.
If you did not have the people, you can't fly. It endangers passengers. There are people's lives at stake. And I'm not saying because they gave them a waiver of the new rules, so-called new rules, which are 2 years old, that planes will fall from the sky. No, we've lived with them for years. But it shows that your system is malleable to pressure.
Yeah.
You would not see this in any developed nation. You would not see it in China. You would not, and though China is not a developed nation like the US or the UK, you would not see it in any of these countries.
Well, it's also the fact that we have to accept that we are in a post जुगाड़ world. हमारा वो जो era था ना, जहाँ हमने बोला था कि इंडिया के जुगाड़ का मिरेकल देखो, क्या इंडिया में सब कुछ चलता है. We have to really civilize ourselves. We have to behave like an actual functioning democracy where civilians should be self-disciplined, should be self-monitoring their behaviors, should hold, all of these bodies in well, accountable, right? ये थोड़ी हो सकता है कि एक तरफ से we want, now we are trying to get good air quality. We're actually trying. We've decided कि बहुत हो गया कि भारत है, कोई नहीं, we're all in this cesspit of a mess, but somehow I will be opportunistic in this country and I will make my 5 rupees and I don't care about it. It's like, you have to like sort of rise up as a people, right? But even beyond that, if you talk about infrastructure, आपने infrastructure की बात, I am someone who goes to the check-in counters all the time. मेरे पास सूटकेस होता है, कभी कभी हैंडबैग होता है, कभी अपग्रेड करना होता है, मैं जाता रहता हूँ. Let me tell you what happens when I ask for a basic upgrade. Let me tell you what happens when I ask for मेरे को extra baggage pay करना है. For a simple task, I am seeing all the time someone has to call their supervisor and say कि ये बटन कैसे काम करता है, and you're just standing there, right, waiting. And sir, sorry, whatever, मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मुझे आदत है, मेरा टाइम, airport time is dead time, I believe that, right? But it's something as simple as that कि यार सर आपका अपग्रेड हुआ, अच्छा है, चल क्यों नहीं रहा. Then you see on those counters 5 women and 6 men standing on one terminal trying to solve your problem, which is a basic problem. Abroad, you've got one person, you've got 3 people, and all passengers are waiting for them to come, right? And they systematically solve your problems. I think we also have gross incompetence and too many people.
Yes, we do, because labor is cheap and labor is plenty.
Mhm.
We do that. To their credit, and I'll give IndiGo credit here. If you travel out of Delhi, for example, Terminal 1, you travel out of here as well. IndiGo's got, zero contact check-in really. I've done that. You tag your bag. Air India's also got that, but not so many.
Mhm.
Mumbai Airport has a few. Eventually that's what we'll go to. Okay. I see this a lot in some American airports. It's coming of age. But yes, you're right. We pay so little.
Mhm.
So instead of, a job where one person could do it, we've got 3-4 people. I don't know why there is incompetence at a computer unless the computer is hung and nobody
That's
needs.
happening all the time as well. There is sir, हमारा server बंद है.
Server band hai because maybe that airport or that company or has not upgraded. Now, mind you, these terminals don't belong to the airlines. They belong to the airport. All computers, that's why you pay a cute fee. You're paying the cute fee because you're using the airport's infrastructure. So all those that you see in Mumbai airport are not belonging to Jet or IndiGo or Air India. They belong to the airport. And the airport has done it. So it's the airline and the passenger who must give a danda to the airport and say, नया लेके आओ.
आपको पता है मुंबई एयरपोर्ट पे, I mean, you've seen the toilet greeters, right? The guys, है ना? That man has now had a new upgrade. I swear, I was like, ये चल रहा है human resources के अंदर हमारी, हम ऐसे ही utilize कर रहे हैं. And when you land at Mumbai airport, right? Terminal 2 है ना अपना जो the nicer one.
Yeah.
The toilet has instead of the occupied thing, they have a light. Red light, green light. Now all these passengers who've come out in the men's washroom are standing because they want to take a shit, right? And they're waiting. The janitor comes in and is like, किसको emergency है? And one guy says, मुझे है. And I see, and he gets the guy outside to the 2 family toilets. And he escorts him to the family toilet. He thanks him, thank you. नहीं पैसा भी नहीं. He's just free. The janitor is so free that he is just like escorting people to the family toilet to take a shit. And I was like, what a brilliant hack. So now I'm like, okay, I also have to take a shit, but all of these are occupied. And now 3 of them have the Indian toilet thingy, which is great. Great for your bowels, great movement, right? You just don't want to, you've got 2 bags, right? Like, usko rakho, fir karne jao, whole ordeal. It's strange. Their attempts to make it very democratic has caused more problems, right? Now I go outside to the family toilet, and just as I'm about to unzip, someone master keys it like, अच्छा आप ही use कर रहे हो ना? हाँ ठीक है. It's the same janitor checking who is, who's not. He's gone past me without asking me. मैंने कहा ये चल क्या है यार? And this is a fantastic looking airport. how it operates internally is a massive question.
Yeah.
I really wanted to ask you today, like, are these airports also functioning? Do they have a structure? Do they have a plan?
Yes. No. And I'll say this of both all the three private airport companies in this country. The Adanis now, own Mumbai and Navi Mumbai and a couple of other airports. GMR, who holds, Delhi's airport, and Hyderabad and Goa, Mopa, and of course, Bangalore, which is, according to me, the best airport in India.
Yes,
And
it is.
probably one of the top 3 in the world that I've seen. They have a structure. They're very, very organized, and they do extremely well. They do extremely well at all levels. And, all this jugadifying that we are a jugad country. Let's accept it. And I keep, when people ask me, why doesn't XYZ Gora do well in, can't understand this rule or that, because they don't know how to do jugad like we do. We are the jugadus. Indians are the jugadus of the world, I'll tell you. Maybe Chinese also, but Indians are the maha jugadus. And even in aviation, there's a lot of jugad happening, which is why, what I told you about the schedule and all was probably done by jugadus only, nobody else.
Yeah.
And toilet jugadu, I mean, hats off to the guy, because he's found a unique hack, like you said. Okay. He's found, 10 guys waiting in line for a crap. He's pulled out the guy who's got an emergency and come to the family toilet, because there are no families using it.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a system. There's a system in this madness. And obviously, we don't have enough toilets for the kind of passengers that are using. And whether you like it or not, you go to Delhi airport, you land, all the toilets are full. I've landed, go to, baggage belt, terminal 3 mein, left ke 5 toilet, all full. I don't know what it is about Indians.
Well, it's all
they want to take a crap or a pee as soon as they get off an aircraft. They're running.
Well, they're also busy. Yeah.
They're also busy, and also, remember, most of these aircrafts have only 1 toilet or 2 toilets at the back. Okay, एक जो lock होती है और एक जो खुली होती है. I in fact caught some crew on that as well. That's another story for another day. But I see this. They run for that, and then they have a coffee, or they find one kachori at Haldiram's or something.
No wonder they're going to take crap.
And that's it.
But now that you've said it, credit to some of the good things that I've seen in Indian airports. Yaar, even in Abu Dhabi, toilets are filthy sometimes. In European nations, forget it. गंदे, क्योंकि कोई साफ नहीं करता. आपको feel हो रहा
और
है
पानी नहीं होता ना, they're wiping their ass.
All toilets across the board, as far as I've seen, clean as hell, right? I mean, Indian Railways I can't say, but these toilets are super clean. Okay. Rarely are there any baggage loss problems compared to like a Heathrow, which is a notorious loser of baggages, right? The taxi system is very orderly, very much punctual. All of that is there. Agreed. But when you line up for an aircraft and you've boarded through the crew वाली चीज, चिल्ला के बोलना पड़ता है कि यार भाई लाइन लगा लो, तमीज से हो जाओ. हरकतें करते हैं लोग.
See, that is our culture. We forget about aircrafts and airports. And you go to a movie theater, you go to a bar. Everybody wants to break the queue. We, unfortunately, in our country, don't have a concept of a queue. It exists. The only time I've seen, our people religiously following the queue is outside the UK embassy, US embassy. Schengen visa लेने जाओ, अरे 2 थप्पड़ मारेगा वो सिक्योरिटी वाला, भगा दे, चल नहीं मिल रहा है. Then you dread के ये साला चूतिया ने बाहर को निकाल. I have to go right to the back of the queue. Go to BKC now and see UKC.
No, I was there. मैंने कहा, they are all surprised at their self-monitoring. Wow, I'm so civil. Look at me standing arms distance. ये भी नहीं कि छू रहे हैं, क्योंकि छूते हैं लाइन में तो
कोई नहीं. Personal space होता है. The US embassy gives you, automatically every Indian gets personal space. But you go to an airport, you go to a movie theater, you think he's going to poke you in your ass. He's chit-talking to you. Yeah. No, and everybody wants to get ahead. Arey, jao na aage. Arey, give the guy some space. Yeah. But that's our nature. And I guess we are a nation of 1.5 billion. And I love our nation. I love our people. And, I've learned, I do this myself. So it's not I've learned to live with it. I've seen other people who are Indophiles, who come so many times to India. They love it about India. They even personal space shit, they've got around it. Firangs have got around it.
As an ex-pilot, let me ask you this. I wanted to
I'm
ask this
cabin
to
crew. I'm not pilot. I'm cabin.
Kevin. कोई बात नहीं. Why do pilots have a random extempore when this I'm a pilot, I'm like, today the skies are looking a little frosty, we should be expecting to land around 4:08 p.m., which is 12 minutes before our standard time. The temperature in Delhi is currently 31 degrees Celsius, and you'll be cabin crew prepare for a life. It's just that you hear this so many times, and some people just butcher it. Some people are like, ये क्या बोल के गया pilot? कुछ ऐसा लगता है, आपको लगता है कि वाह, because he's the god in the speaker, right? You're like, क्या personality है pilot की, भाई साहब क्या, ये तो बातें कर रहा है, ये तो पूरी बातें कर रहा है. What is that?
So if you go back 20-25 years, कोई बात ही नहीं करता था. 25 साल 30 साल पहले, it's come about because of interaction, interactivity, make it interactive. And I think by and by, airlines started bringing it about. Jet Airways brought it in first, and then Air India already had it. Indian Airlines wasn't so much, and then when they merged, everybody has taken it to a new level. IndiGo has taken it. Now, though, I've seen pilots on Instagram who are singing with the mic, and they come out and they start reciting poetry and all sorts of stuff. So now you've got so many social media superstars who are pilots.
Yeah, like Flying Beast is the biggest one. Yeah,
Flying Beast, of course. Yeah. He's no longer flying as a pilot, but he's a social media king. So he's different. But there are people who are flying even today, and there are cabin crew also, and there are engineers, there are ground staff. It's because everybody wants to show a new side of them. Everybody likes to converse. I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, yes, some who butcher it. Obviously, not everybody can pass it off with the diction and the language flow, etc. Some are reading out from a parchi. You don't even know. Cut. वो लिखा हुआ है, रटा हुआ है, and बात करता है. But by and by, we tend to do this, and I think it's good. It's good.
So you worked as cabin crew.
Yeah. I was and ground as well.
Yeah.
After I had
So you were a steward.
Yeah.
Dude, you were in a female-dominated industry. So how was there a lot of stereotypes around men joining the?
Air India had no problem. We had 50% men at one particular time. And, in the 80s, I joined in the 80s. I was short of 17, and then eventually I retired as I took a voluntary retirement as regional head of customer service.
Did you smoke at the airplanes at that
Yes,
time?
of course. I smoked.
Hey, what was that like?
That was great. I mean, I used to smoke 30 years ago, so it was crazy. It was good. Fun. I used to love smoking in the aircraft in those days. There were sections, and I flew the jumbo in those sections of the aircraft which had smoking seats. Crew rest area had a smoking area. It was a unique thing before people realized that cigarettes cause cancer, smoking kills, all those warnings and all weren't even existing on the cigarette packets. But we, in Air India, we stopped it in the 90s, early 90s. And of course, the world then moved into no smoking. I had, by 95, probably given up smoking myself. So that's like 30 years now.
What was it like to steward those planes at that time? Because right now it's very cheap to fly. Yeah, I'm sure.
Well, I've flown till a few years ago. It's not that I'm not that old.
Like the first years, because you saw the Air India ads outside that I had, right?
No, I'm not from that age.
No. Yeah.
My parents are. My parents were in those. My dad.
I often think that when I see on Twitter, sometimes they have like this golden age of flight.
Yes, it was.
Right?
It was. Yes, I've been on.
Where the seats are beautiful. It's all old. It's very luxurious.
Palace in the sky. It was a palace. Air India, J.R.D. Tata invented the palace in the sky, and we had magnificent aircrafts, those jumbos and stuff like that. Lots has changed. Itne bade seats hote the. You look at some of the images, they're crazy. And I've flown from, I think I took my first international flight in 72, 73 to Hong Kong. So as a young kid, yeah. So, I come from a family of people who've been in aviation for years and years. So for us, it was, free tickets and we fly. So
what were passengers like? What class of society did they come from?
I'll tell you, even since I started working, I've seen the class of passengers changing in complexion over the decades. And I've seen, I've had Richard Gere on my flight. I've had Sophia Loren. We've had some really big names. And there was a time when, Air India had 50% Firangs who traveled to India on Air India. It was renowned for its service and stuff. And that's changed. the nature of flying has changed. It's become cheaper. It's become more affordable to more people. So the profile changes. The people who then traveled in those days on Air India, which was a premium carrier, have probably moved to an Emirates or a British Airways or a Singapore Airlines, which is still regarded as a premium carrier. And Air India will come around. We'll get there. For example, you look at IndiGo or you look at a SpiceJet. They're low-cost carriers in name only. They're not low cost. Let me just tell you that. You compare Apple for Apple, and you'll find that the low-cost carrier is higher than the high-cost carrier. But खाना नहीं देता है, ये खाने free का देता है. That's the difference. Baggage, maybe you might get a little extra this thing on Air India, I think, or one of these full-service carriers. But the passengers were great. I've flown all kinds of people, from the Pope to Swamis and
What? You flew the Pope?
Prime Minister. I did so many, maybe 10 years or 15 years of flying the VIP flights. So I've done a lot of that.
Wait, so India didn't have like a dedicated like Prime Minister, like I think Mr. Modi now has his own aircraft, right?
Earlier, we had a special aircraft which was kitted for the Prime Minister and
How
the
is it
President.
kitted for the Prime Minister?
Kitted meaning they take it into the hangar and they change it. They make bedrooms. They make an office. They pull out all the seats. They put everything. Yeah, we had a special crew. So I've done all
that.
Huh?
You've seen the golden age of aviation.
Well, I still think that, it's golden. Aviation will always be golden. I've seen the luxury side of it.
हाँ तो वही उसी
And
का मैं
abhi
तो पूछ
dekh
रहा हूँ.
raha hu, people crying at airports. It's not that they didn't do. We've had chaotic years in the past. Fog, hit Delhi. 3-4 दिन के लिए flight नहीं गए. But because aviation has grown so big in our country, the mishaps or the delays or the, confusion that happens is so much bigger, because now it's not about 5,000 passengers. Now it's about 5 lakh passengers. Now it's about 1 lakh passengers traveling. That's the difference. And yeah, of course, I've been through a lot. I've seen a lot. I've flown special charters, World Cup. I've done all that. I've had a
बुलाना चाहते हो क्या उस वाले टाइम को बुलाना चाहते हो क्या? You want to focus on the civil aviation?
I don't want to focus. I don't want to bulao. I've written a book, man. My book is full of all these anecdotes. Second book, man.
What is it called?
It's called On Angel's Wings. It's on Amazon. And yeah, it deals with my life and my journey through aviation and my own life and my own tragedy. And it comes to, where I decide to hang up my boots and get into this, consulting, advocacy, and that's what I do. I travel the world talking against terrorism, I do that. I speak about on aviation, on leadership. But what I really, when something appeals to me, I want to go hammer and tongs. If you Google, you'll see, probably 10 of the biggest cases in aviation history I've filed in the High Court, gone up to the Supreme Court. I fought the government, whichever government. And I've been one of those days. But I also believe in this is an industry that our country needs, and this is what's going to redefine our economy in many ways. AI, computers and all will do. But I believe that airports and airlines are going to be, the benchmark for the future. I have great belief in airports and stuff like that.
I believe it.
Because India is going to, in 10 years from now, I see each airport as a mini city, as a multimodal transport hub. And I hope, I've been sharing this with the government, and I hope they do. You look abroad and you have an IT park outside an airport. You have, shopping malls.
You've got Delhi's Aero City, which is insane.
But Delhi Aero City, you have to go out. I'm talking about you have it, literally in the airport structure. You go to Heathrow and look at the 4 terminals, not the 5th, but the 4 terminals, and see the structures there. They don't have large shopping, but you should have everything there and have your high-speed railway, your underground, your expressway, everything reaching there, and have a cargo hub, build a multimodal transport hub.
Well, they have it in some European countries where
Yes,
there's
of course
an
they do.
inter-airport metro, right? That takes you across.
So that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what we as Indians, when we are building infrastructure, I remember when Navi Mumbai Airport came up, I was on TV quite a few, and I said, this is my only grouse, that if we don't build the infrastructure first, the airport is always going to stutter to take off. And, you've got to build all this. Now, Delhi Aero City is great. And if I were the owner of GMR, I'd build a rail or tell the government build a rail. Aero City say airport T1, 2, 3, all internal. I should just be connected. that's what makes it the next level for anybody, So that's what will make the difference. And I think by and large, what's going to happen is aviation is going to drive the biggest employment cycle for the next 10 years. I see jobs for about 5 lakh to 10 lakh people in aviation, whether it's in aircrafts, whether it's pilots, cabin crew, ground staff, airport staff, hotels around them. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, just the amount of people at Delhi duty free alone will do it.
Yeah,
Just the
look
amount of
at it.
men in suits selling you something, right?
Yeah, look at it. And then that's why, if you notice, Delhi duty free has now gone back to GMR. They decided to get rid of the foreign company that was operating. They've decided, let's keep the profit to ourselves. Let's do it. So you're going to see all that. Retail. If you go to Stansted Airport, do you travel to Stansted?
I've traveled once.
I mean, look at the revised Stansted. It's like going through, Palladium Mall. And they don't let you walk straight. They built it like a snake. So you walk a kilometer till you reach the gate, because you go through 500 shops first. And that is a psychological thing, because it makes you want to buy something, want to eat something, want to drink something, because you're not seeing the gates. You're just seeing shops and stores and stores. So airports are becoming a retail revolution. And that's going to be the next thing. Airports are also going to become a lifestyle thing. Now, if you see Delhi, you've seen Aero City. They're going to build a huge mall there. It's already under construction. It's going to be India's largest mall in the airport complex. So, figure that out. Yeah, you're going to have people who just want to come and park and spend the day there. The next thing you'll hear is an amusement park there. I mean, if somebody was smart enough, they'd probably do it. And it becomes a family outing. Build a huge viewing center. बच्चे खेलेंगे, shopping करेंगे, hotel जाएंगे, and then they might have a staycation and book a room at Aero City.
Tell me something. I want to know more about the era of luxury aviation, which you've conveniently skirted around.
No, I've not skirted around. It was, people talk of Qatar Airways and Air India and Emirates and all serving caviar. Air India served caviar 30, 40 years ago in silver. I'm talking about 45 years.
Silverware in airplanes.
Absolutely. We had silver timble, which used to serve it. So it's not that these are new things. We've served Blue Label. We've served, everything that you see the Gulf carriers doing today. We've done it 30, 40 years ago. When I say we, I mean Air India. Mr. Tata was one of the grandest men of aviation. And I had the opportunity of meeting him once in New York when I was a young kid. And I remember asking, why haven't you flown Air India? He said, when you learn to keep time, I'll fly back my Air India. And that was an anecdote I'll never forget. I've written about it in detail in my book. And great man. One of the big influences in my life.
What would you do when you would have to be delayed?
In those days, number one, concepts of delays were very few and far between, because the percentage of flights was much lower, number one. Unless it was a technical glitch, we didn't have any problem.
Did people fly in their night suits or in very decked out clothes?
No. Absolutely attired.
The airport was a third place to, the airplane was a third place to show off who you were, right?
It was the first place to.
Really?
It was not the third, yeah. You wore your Sunday best and you flew.
Wow. Look at us now flying in such shitty clothes, right? Comfort is everything.
Air India, on my first trip, on a jumbo, 1973. Now remember, the jumbos came into Air India 71, 72. So 73, I flew it to Hong Kong. And I had friends from my building in Juhu whose dad was posted in Hong Kong. So we went on a holiday. When my dad flew me, he took me up to the lounge. In those days, Air India had a lounge, a club.
Inside the plane?
Inside the plane, man. And on the roof, if you've been in a jumbo, there are 2 levels. So
I've never been.
You've never been, right? Go, when you travel next time, go to the jumbo in, some of these museums, jumbo aircraft, you'll see it's a 747. So when you enter the first door, in the old series, that's the spiral staircase, cockpit है ऊपर था. उसके सामने आजकल तो business class डाले गए या सब. Those days, Air India had a lounge, a luxury Maharaja lounge. And we had air hostesses who wore Rajasthani bandhani outfits with Ghagra choli and Rajasthani jewelry. And it was, I can send you photographs, out of the world, out of the world. But they never wore that in airports. They came on board and so people had never seen it till you came here. And that hostess never worked down in the economy. It's just for the lounge. And, business, first class, we didn't have business. Those we had first class, they'd come up and they'd chill here, get drinks served and stuff like that. That was the business class, the upper deck lounge. You come down to the first class, you had 12 seats, luxurious seats. We didn't have sleepers and all in those. It was big seats. But on the Air India Jumbo, we had a bar. What you see in the Emirates aircrafts today, we've had that 30, 40 years ago. We have defined, when I say we, I'm proud to have, worked in Air India. We have defined air travel as a luxury. In fact, I'm talking about luxury. There was TWA in the United States, which had a piano lounge. After Air India started, it had a full-fledged damn piano in the upper deck of a 747. And it flew across America. So it's not that there was no luxury. That was the level of luxury. You had seats with 60-inch pitch. You know what? 60 inches is huge. Today, that's 2 business class seats, literally. And it was next level. Like I said, we had the best wines. Air India served the best champagnes. We had Dom Perignon at some point. We had Veuve Clicquot Ponsardin earlier. We had caviar. We had Beluga and Sevruga caviar, which, disappeared in the late 90s or early 2000s. But Air India served stuff in cut glasses, Royal Doulton, Noritaki crockery. That was what it was. And that was the luxury. And you had crew who knew every nuance of hospitality. You had, of course, you had a leader like the late Mr. Tata who, checked literally when he traveled, checked every light, checked every toilet. He cleaned the toilet himself. If he found it dirty, he told the crew, he checked the temperature. He saw how you made your eggs. We had steaks on board those days. It was before Moraji Desai came in and ruined everything. But this is all what Air India did. And it's not only, Air India, and this will surprise you. Air India trained the first batch of Singapore Airlines people in Kalina, not too far from here. Because when, I don't know if you know the history of Singapore. Singapore was an impoverished cousin of Malaysia. They were part of one.
It's like a fishing island, right?
And the, Malaysian Airlines and Singapore broke away in the late 60s, early 70s. And Lee Kuan Yew had was the leader.
Everyone knows about the Lee Kuan Yew story, right?
So, no. People don't realize that he reached out to Mr. Tata to start their airline. They were getting their big jumbos in the 70s. And their first few batches, many batches came here to Air India, Mumbai and trained. Not only them, Air Mauritius, Air Seychelles. So Air India was so preeminent in those days, 70s and 80s, that a lot of these airlines built their template around what Air India did in those days. So they trained here. Not only that, in the building I lived, I had about 4 or 5 senior 747 pilots who were sent by Air India along with others to Singapore to fly for Singapore Airlines. So their first batches of pilots were also trained by Air India pilots. Very few people know all this. But this is a fact of life. And that's how the entire Singapore story started. And of course, today they refined it to another art form, and Singapore went up and we went down.
What about the leather, the interiors, the upholstery?
Well, no, we didn't have leather. First of all, you look at the interiors. Today, when you fly any aircraft, what do you look at? No, what are the walls?
Grey, off-white.
What Mr. Tata had for Air India was history of Krishna and Ajanta, Ellora
Inside
caves.
the plane?
Yeah, absolutely. You can look at an old 747 interior and you'll see the artwork on the walls. We had artwork on the walls. We had artwork on the menu cards, which are miniature Tanjore paintings. So I've got a whole lot of this saved up at home. Look at the walls. Can you see it? And every aircraft was named after an emperor. The interior was different, hand-painted, handcrafted. Look at it. So if you look at, Krishna Deva Raya, it has a different thing. Harshvardhan, all the kings would have different interiors.
इतना हम indulgent थे
इतना क्या, this was pure luxury.
भाई साहब. It's just having a hard time looking it up. It doesn't believe what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I'm kidding.
No.
It's just okay. Maharaja Sky Lounge. अब की images आ रही हैं. First class cabin with Gupta era art replicas, Emperor Ashoka. Economy class cabin with embroidered seat fabrics and subtle
That's what
Indian
it is.
geometric patterns. Upper, wow, that's crazy. Okay, I'm just gonna open up one of them and probably like it says upper deck cabin with Indian mythology scenes. Just taking a while to load.
Yeah, but very heavy pictures because
Ha
they
ha
were.
ha, that's why.
So the aircrafts were vibrant.
Uh-huh.
They had textured upholstery,
Uh-huh.
and all through the aircraft, not only the first class, or the lounge upstairs.
Oh wow. Iski main link save karunga. Devyansh, I'm gonna send it to you. This is what it looks like.
This was the aircraft, yeah.
Wow, that's like Darjeeling
the-
Limited.
Look at the windows.
Bhai
That's how the Jharoka came.
Sahab. That is next level. And this air hostess is so beautiful. And that's a lounge right in the back.
No, actually, the lounge is up on the first floor. That's the next level. But there are so
There's
many.
more images.
Yeah, that's see that. Go up here. Go up to the Mr. Tata photograph. There, you can see the Ghagra Choli.
Wow.
That's what she wore in the lounge, the air hostess. You can see the rest of their saris.
Yeah. ये क्या है भाई साहब? ये तो कुछ psychedelic adventure है.
No, this is our aircraft. And this is the uniform.
I've never seen these pictures.
Yeah, that's why glad you called me.
Hell yeah. Wow.
This is what it is. So if you talk of luxury, this is, like the Taj Mahal Hotel in the sky.
Oh, they're all dressed up in suits.
Yeah, everybody wore suits. Everybody. I mean, if you didn't wear that, that's
This is the
my
economy
boss
class.
at one time. Yeah.
Wait, who? This is your boss?
Yeah, at one time, yes.
Who is that?
Colleen High, Mr. Zafar High's wife. Producer, famous director, movie maker. Yeah.
Wow, first class and executive cabin to London and India.
Yeah. That's a friend of mine. I've done lots of Prime Minister's flights with her. She was beautiful. So, and this is not so old. This is not old at all.
ऐसा आप तो बुरा लगता होगा आपको देख के फ्लाइट्स को.
देखो, today we have come to a completely different kind of aviation,
Yeah, no.
And
fuck. I want to be here. I want to be doing this.
So people talk about, the Emirates and the Singapore Airlines, but we were there before.
Beautiful. And contemporary airplanes at the time don't match up.
No, nobody matched. Nobody matched. Let me tell you. So salt and pepper shakers were made of silver. जो डालते ना
Uh-huh.
namak और they were silver little things. Spoons was, with engraved stuff. It was next level. Yeah, you can't imagine, this gentleman's foresight and vision.
At what point did it become impractical to do this?
Well, not impractical. The government, Janata Party government removed Mr. Tata. And then, of course, I saw after that bureaucrats, came in, and the slide of Air India really took place post the 80s. When the Congress came back to power, they brought the late Mr. Tata back, but as a board member, not as the chairman. And I think by the mid 80s, late, early 90s, it had become passé. In the sense, everything became commercial, and the lounge had gone off in the mid 80s, and business class seats replaced it. A lot of business class came in, and then the seats started contracting. The new aircrafts came in without all this fancy artwork on the walls.
Mhm.
So we had the first plain walls. So by the 90s, it had gone, and I think by the late 90s, even the caviar and the silver, all the stuff had gone. We'd send the aircraft for refurbishment, and they came back with tinier seats because you fill more passengers.
Yeah.
It becomes about economics.
I'm going to remodel the studio in like an Air India plane.
Do that.
I just feel
But
like
there is an AV geek, a podcaster in Los Angeles who's actually done that. I will send you the link.
Okay.
He's actually built, he's got he's built an aircraft, and he has events there. And he's put the seats, he's put the decor of the Air India aircraft. Air India. He makes his staff wear, these fancy uniforms and serves people. He gives them that experience once or twice a year. You must try it. It's in Los Angeles.
Sanjay, I have to have you on again. It is. I don't think one podcast will do justice. We had to meet because of the IndiGo issue, because it is a society-wide issue that damages us economically and also raises awareness about just how dependent we were on this one airline. I hope they recover, and I hope like you said, there is a citizens charter.
And structural changes. We need structural changes in Indian aviation across the board. It will give the government a serious, thought process to chew over whether you would want to. Now they've gone to, in the last 5 years, they've gone from 50 something to 65%. If you give them that and they bring in 1,000 aircrafts, they could easily go to 75%. Is that going to be acceptable? No. Would everybody want to be forced to brush their teeth with Colgate across India? No. It's the same thing. So the government and the monopolies and Competition Commission of India have to look at this. And you've got to restrict or do what the US did, break it up into small companies. They've done it. This is not something I'm suggesting out of my top of my head. I'm a student of aviation. I study, and one of the law that I've done is air and space law. So you look at it, look at the people around, look at the countries around you, and you see the experiences in deregulation. And this is one thing, you can't allow one company to have such a crushing monopoly that to the exclusion of everybody else. It will skew the entire market dynamics.
Right.
That's
As
what
it has.
it has. I mean, it has. It's not skewed. It's screwed the market this time, but it could skew the market tomorrow if IndiGo raises fares everywhere. Do you know more than 50% of its sectors, they're the only carrier? That's I remember last year we were doing a research for 555 odd pairs, routes. They were the only carrier. And today it's about 50% of their traffic. So very significant. That means in 50% of the routes, you don't have an alternate. You will have to pay what they want you to pay. Is that what you want? No. That's not what you want. As the Indian government now, unfortunately or fortunately, under this guise of the CAR, FDTL, this is going to be looked at very closely. Not only if the government does it, the government will be forced to do it by citizens who will start moving writ courts across this country to see that this never happens again. And if the government does not pick up this baton and run it to the finish line, people of India will. We don't need, Congress or Aam Aadmi Party or you don't need that. You need now, because you now say that aviation travel is democratic and it's not for the rich, the democratic people are now going to fight this in the courts of the land. I can see that. I'm amazed, just to, as an aside, I've got more than 100 messages from passengers who are filing a PIL, who want to take these things to court, this chaos of the last month. And, I'm not involved in it because I was not a passenger, but I'm beginning to sense that, it's time the citizens' movement gets corrective action in place in this government, in this country.
I hope that happens. Where can people follow your work, follow what you're doing?
Well, I'm on Twitter. I'm SJ Lazar. I'm on LinkedIn, Sanjay Lazar. I'm on Instagram as well. I think you've got the...
Yeah, we'll add the links.
Yeah, please add the links. And I'd be happy. I interact with lots of people. I'm, available in Mumbai,
Yeah, you
Pune.
just got 46 or 94 missed calls that we were just here. But listen, I would love to have you back on again.
Of course, it'll be my pleasure.
Barring this issue, because I want to speak about the history of aviation.
Absolutely. I'm doing a book, incidentally, on the history of aviation.
Looking forward to it.
And I'm not going to tell you the title, but it's about the people I've spoken about. And it's covering, that's how I speak so fluently, because I had a research team. We've been doing work on this for 2 years.
When does this come out?
Maybe middle of next year. We're covering from 1900 to 2025.
Very fascinated by it. Would love to have you on again.
There is no repository of our aviation history. We talk of other things.
Indian aviation history.
Yeah. There's a lot. We are one of the leaders in the world aviation. Like I told you about Singapore Airlines. You would never have known. You would never have known Lee Kuan Yew came to Bombay, came to Air India, Kalina. You wouldn't know these little things. But his people were there. Our people were there training their pilots. And today, look at where we are. They're one of the most profitable airlines in the world, and
They're frankly rated the best.
yeah, they are. And now they own 26% of Air India. So that's a great thing. Remember that. They have bought into Air India with the Tatas. They're partners with the
The
Tatas.
student has become the master.
Well, and it's time for the current student, to learn from the master and change our ways. And I know for a fact, I have great confidence in the Tatas and the Air India brand, and it'll bounce back. There's no, I mean, this is a tragedy. We'll see greater days, and we'll see good days. Even IndiGo, I think it's on the curve. See, they've had this major cock up. I'm calling it a cock up, but they were on path to becoming from a low-cost carrier to a hybrid carrier and moving up maybe to a full-service carrier someday, or, this hybrid carrier. And they would have to change service structures. I've written a number of articles on LinkedIn. I have been a great admirer of theirs. So I still hope that they get back on the wheel and, shun these cookie cutter, shortcut methods, which I seem to believe that they've taken. Maybe they don't believe internally. Unless your people within are happy, and they're not happy at the moment. People of IndiGo are not happy, whatever anybody says. I know how many messages I've got. I'm in groups, photographs and stuff. And that's what's changed in the last year or two. And they need to address that. Like I told you, the figure, COVID, wage bill at COVID and wage bill now, it shows you they're squeezing everything for maximum profitability. थोड़ा दरिया दिल होना चाहिए. You are in the people business, and it's no longer a low-cost model where you're going to sell upma everywhere. You're going Bombay to London or Delhi to London, can't sell upma anymore. You've got to have a smile. You've got to have the big heart. You've got to have, your captains, your pilots, your cabin crew. Everybody has to be smiling all the time, not danda leke maro. And things will change, I do believe.
Well, I thank you for your time. Thank you for coming all the way to
Thank you.
Mumbai, your
Thank
home
you.
city.
Yes.
And we're looking forward to having you on again and
Of
hanging
course,
out later.
anytime.
Thank
See
you so
brother.
much.
Thanks. Cheers.